Hello and welcome back to my FPL channel. I'm FPLD and today you're here for Game Week 31 team selection, and I've got so much to get through. I've got my top transfer tips during this video as well as benching decisions, Gabriel replacements, best players to buy on wildcard, best double game week players for 32, 33, free hit 34, free hit 38. I cover everything in this video, so make sure you stick around for all of it, and please like it. Smash the like button, share it with your friends, leave us a comment if you've got any questions ahead of the Game Week 31 deadline stream, which I'll be doing in Perth on my laptop tomorrow, which will look slightly different to how it's looking at the moment. And I am on holiday for the next 3 weeks as well. And if you haven't already done so, please drop us a sub. That'd be much appreciated. And without further ado, let's jump into it. So, the blank Game Week 34 fixtures are confirmed. I'm going to wrap this up in literally 30 seconds. As was predicted, Arsenal, Crystal Palace, Man City and Aston Villa are all going to double in Game Week 33. So, all those people that wildcarded in 30, they knew the information. It didn't change. It was exactly as predicted. So I'm quite glad I wildcarded. Anyways, my team was a mess anyway. I wouldn't have survived if I hadn't wildcarded in 30. Forest versus Brentford, as suspected as well, will also end up in blank Game Week 34. It's just been moved to the midweek or after the FA Cup. So that's 8 fixtures that are going on there. There's no need to free hit if you don't overload in Game Week 33. And trust me, I don't think double Game Week 33 outside of potentially Manchester City's assets are actually that good, if I'm being brutally honest with you. And yeah, that's mainly because of the fact that Crystal Palace stunk it up against Southampton. And I think that definitely has to be, something that has to be looked at. Now, just really quickly, the top scorers for the week were Joe Zindani and Reece Cole, 2 blokes I actually know. They both got 73 points. Reece Cole played his assistant manager on Iraola for 1 point. Well done, Reece. Don't know why you played it this week, mate, but good on ya. And Big Joe, he had a good week. He had a Langer on field and a few others, and neither of them wildcarded. So that was really interesting, and I thought that was something I wanted to shout out. The leader is still Sharkash of me, 2,152 points he's up to now. I gained 4 points on him this week, but it wasn't overly that much. And obviously, as you can see now, I got 51 points, and we'll get that into a little bit later on. So we're going to start with the top transferred in and out players for Game Week 31, and I'm going to rattle through this. So we're going to start with the out column. Clivert, he has to go if you're on wildcard. Gabriel, he's done for the season. Easy sell. Chris Wood, we don't know too much about that. I would still recommend potentially. He could be a good differential when he is back in the team. Aina injured. Alexander-Arnold injured. Haaland injured. Makes perfect sense. Cole Palmer returned. Finally, he returned overnight with an assist. Hopefully this is what kickstarts him back into gear. I'm not sure if he's a sell. He's got amazing fixtures between now and 34, which is when I really need him, so he's going to be staying in my team. Bruno Fernandes, Mbeumo, Bowen, Robinson, Hall. Hall's injured, obviously. Those other 4, the fixtures aren't very good. And unless you're playing Bowen in a bench boost 33, he can also go because that's the only reason you would need him there. Wissa, Ditto, Pickford, Semenyo, Beto, Kirkes. Bournemouth assets again sold en masse after that shock result against Ipswich, and they do look like they're in a bit of a downturn in form. Watkins also being sold, probably because he's been benched the last couple. João Pedro and Fabianski, that makes a lot of sense. Fabianski's going to be sold by so many teams because they're on wildcard. Now, in terms of the buying column, I'm surprised Sucker's at the top. I'm expecting him to start on the bench again. Hopefully he can do something again off the bench against Everton, because obviously I've got him on my team. Saliba makes a lot of sense considering Timber is flagged, and obviously Gabriel's out for the season. Marmoush delivered. He was brilliant. Isaac delivered. Brilliant. Milinkovic delivered. Brilliant. Alanga delivered. Brilliant. Makes a lot of sense. All these assets are going to be good over the short term and the long term. Virgil van Dijk, I'm unsure of. He does make a little bit of the segment later on in this video, but I'm still unsure on him. Guardiol, great. And Munoz, ditto. And then the rest are just double game week players for Game Week 33 and 32. So Jacob Murphy, Rashford, Byrne, Rogers, Livramento, Ismaila Sarr, Raya, Marco Asensio and Watkins all in because they're going to be doubling in 33 or 32. Only one that's on there that's a little bit different is Strand Larsen, probably because some people are going for a little bit of a differential, and I don't mind that play at all. So, onto the Aston Villa assets you should be looking at the most. Watkins, definitely if he comes back on the team, and I think once he's probably fit, he probably will start again because Emery loves him. Rogers, ditto, absolutely loves the man. So you can guarantee they're going to be playing. The other 3 are a little bit of a minute's risk. And yes, I've left Konza out. I've left Martinez out. Dean has so much better attacking data than Konza. So I think if you had to pick between the two, unless you're really desperate for 0.1 mil, I think it's Dean all day long. Then Marco Asensio and Rashford, both of them have looked really good for Villa since they've been signed. I would actually argue Marliners as well, but he's definitely down the pecking order in regards to these assets. Asensio, if he starts, is probably the best. Rashford comes in as a close second. That's the way I read it in terms of the Aston Villa assets to target. In terms of the Arsenal assets, it was Gabriel in here, but he is gone. I put Marino in his place because some people seem to be thinking he's a nailed-on asset and probably good value. I'm not sure, and it's not a punt that I would be recommending, but of the 5 players that probably Arsenal relevance, Saka's probably my favourite. If he starts playing 90 minutes, that would be ideal. I think if they lose in the Bernabeu, we can guarantee Saka will start playing 90 minutes in the Premier League. It is going to come down to that. And then obviously we'll be ready for that game week 33, which is essentially when most people are buying him for. Raya, it's a good way of covering the Arsenal defence, and it is the cheapest way of covering the Arsenal defence. And he's the only one I'm going to have when I sell Gabriel. I'm not going to be buying Tim. I'm not going to be buying Saliba. I just think I've said all season long, doubling up on defence has sucked. And every time I do it, they blank. So it happened again to me on the midweek. I'm not going to be doing it again. Timber's a great option. I think he's actually better than Saliba as long as he comes through and he's fit. In terms of the Man City assets, Foden still makes this list, and it's cringeworthy. It's just because he had such a good 5 weeks on my team earlier in the season, so he still does make this list. But if you're tossing up between him and Savinho, it's Savinho all day long. Savinho seems to start every game at the moment. He might only last 60 or 70 minutes, but at least he gets that 2 bonus points. The 2 appearance points at minimum. Guardiola obviously is the defender you have to have him. I think every man in his dog's going to have Guardiola, and it makes a lot of sense because he's a nailed-on asset, and he seems to be pretty injury-free in terms of getting injuries as well. Marmoush, again, without Haaland, he was brilliant. His XG per 90 almost doubled across all his games after this game against Leicester. So that's all you need to know there. He's going to be a great option as long as Haaland's out. And Edison, I put him in there. If you're desperate for a goalkeeper from City and you really want to go in on like having 12 doublers or whatever, by all means, I wouldn't be recommending him myself. So the Crystal Palace assets, and they were desperately disappointing against Southampton. Like, honestly, they were bad. They just didn't show up. I think they just thought it'd be an easy win, and it wasn't an easy win. Dean Henderson, I can't see a world where you get Dean Henderson, Lacroix, however you say his name, when you've got Munoz, Sarr, Mateta, and Eze. I think Munoz is 100%. You've got to have him as the defensive asset from Crystal Palace. Ismaila Sarr and Eze, it's really a toss-up. If money's a problem, Sarr. If money's not a problem, it's Eze. And Mateta looks really good, but maybe there's a world where you look at the fixtures and the fixtures aren't overly flash for Crystal Palace and you decide against going for Mateta. I can also understand that from a player as well. And maybe you go for a differential forward because everyone at the moment has Mateta, Isaac, and Marmoush. And if you want to gain rank, you ain't gaining rank if you've got the same forwards as everyone else. So the Newcastle United assets, and look, this is where it does get a little bit more interesting. Isaac, I think, is a must-have. I know he's yellow flagged. Maybe Howard said something after this video has been released that says that he's not going to be any good. I still think you want him for double game week 32. Even if he missed the Leicester game, you still want him. He's a great option. Fantastic. Gordon versus Murphy is interesting. Obviously, there's a 2.4 million difference, which is why I prefer Murphy. And Murphy has already got a return on the weekend. Midweek. Again, I keep thinking it's the weekend. It's midweek against Brentford, and I think he's a great asset. I obviously picked Dan Burn over Livramento and over Trippier because he costs less money, and he didn't get booked, which means that if he was to miss any of the games in the double game week, he would have to get booked in the next 2 games. So he'd have to get booked against Leicester. Surely he won't. And then you have to be booked against Manchester United to miss that Crystal Palace game. And then it really doesn't matter if he gets booked or not because game week 32 is out of the way and the threshold increases. So I think he's fine. Pope as well. I mean, the only thing I'll say on Pope, he gave away that penalty against Brentford. That was disappointing for people that owned him. I don't know what he was thinking, but in reality, he's still a fairly decent asset if you wanted to have him on as your goalkeeper. So, assistant managers of table bonus in Game Week 31. And I'll point this out. Of the 7 table bonus managers in Game Week 30, the only one that returned, other than the goals that were scored, was Juric against... Who did they play? I can't remember who they played. Juric against Crystal Palace. He got 9 points. So the table bonus definitely can pay off, but there is no guarantee that the order I've got him in, that any of them will return. That is the That's the brilliance of the chip. It's a fun chip to play, but don't play it on any of these managers thinking they're going to deliver, because there's every chance, the high likelihood is they don't. I mean, I got very lucky and all the ones I picked all did deliver against the teams they were playing against in the table, and arguably 2 of them were playing against Liverpool and they still returned. I still think that Potter is probably the best pick against Bournemouth because West Ham are at home. Frank is obviously against Chelsea, and Brentford have actually done really well against Chelsea in recent times, but I'm hoping that win will kickstart Chelsea back into gear, and Brentford's form at home has definitely dipped off over the last few weeks. So Frank's probably comes in at number 2. Moyes versus Arsenal is interesting. Arsenal might be having their minds on the Champions League against Real Madrid, so he might potentially be even better than Potter and Frank, I'm not sure. Silva against Liverpool, I didn't rate Liverpool at all against Everton, and now they're going away from home. Salah's not in very good form, and maybe Silva can actually get someone there. Amrin against Man City, if you're a real Man United fan, you believe it by all means, but I just can't see it myself. I think that we won't score a goal against them. Van Nistelrooy against Newcastle. I mean, Leicester are done. They're already thinking about the championship next year. And Juric versus Tottenham. Maybe I'm doing Juric a disservice. Maybe they shouldn't be 7th because Tottenham are garbage. So maybe, and any Tottenham fans want to get involved in the chat, let me know. Maybe Juric is actually a fairly decent shout against Southampton. I mean, Leicester has already beaten them, and so has Ipswich. So there you go. So my final plugs for Game Week 31. Almost everyone after this week will be down to 3 chips. So it just depends on what 3 chips they are. Some people are playing their assistant manager this week. Others are playing their wild card. That means that a lot of people will just have the bench boost, free hit, and like me, probably triple captain if you've already played your assistant manager. It is, as I said, a great week for table bonus, 7 games on offer, and I would argue that some of the games are really good chances of actually coming back with that table bonus, but at the same time, they could all flop. Like, there's no guarantee. Do you captain anyone outside of Salah this week because of the flags? And who do you sell Gabriel to? Well, I'm going to be covering that very shortly. Blank Game Week 34 is now easily navigated without a free hit if you don't overload on double Game Week 33, which, truth be told, I don't think is actually the best. I don't think it's a great double. Yes, Villa's got great assets, but they're in the Champions League. They've got an overload of games. At some point, fitness is going to become a problem, a bit like what we're probably seeing with Liverpool at the moment. Then, obviously, Crystal Palace, I would argue they're not very good fixtures at Crystal Palace. And then Arsenal obviously are worried about injuries and Champions League as well. And then Man City are really the only ones. And I can see some resting going on before that FA Cup as well. I mean, players won't want to be injured. You want to have your best team out there in the FA Cup semi-finals. I just think that will play a big part in it. So, the best defenders to buy this week, still Munoz, Dean, Byrne, Guardiol, Timber, Konza. Best mids to buy, Ismaili Assar, Eze, Murphy, Gordon, Savinho, Rashford, Alanga, Asensio, Saka and Bowen. No one outside of there that everyone's already talking about. Best forwards to buy, it's still Isaac, Mateta, Mamouche, Valentin and Jorgen Strand-Larsen. Maybe you could put Jackson on there. Maybe I'm doing him a disservice. He did start and he got a yellow card. That's customary for Jackson, but he didn't return. So, 51 points is what I got this week. So let's have a look how it broke down. Raya, 2 points in goal. Disappointing. Conceding that 94th minute goal was definitely annoying. Munoz, 2 points. That game against Southampton just in general was frustrating. Guardiol was playing centre-back. Didn't even look like conceding a goal. 6 points. That was nice. Gabriel, I owned him for 15 minutes this season of him playing, and that's it. Never again. I'm never entertaining that man ever again. Absolute fraud. Didn't even get to 5 goals this season. I'll point that out. I benched Milinkovic yet again for 6 points. Highly frustrating. Every time I bench this man, it's like Chris Wood. He gets 6 points. I'm benching him against Aston Villa as well. He's probably highly likely to return as well. Byrne, 2 points. Yeah, not much to be said there. For Bruggen, 1. He was kind of disappointing. In terms of the midfield, it was Ismaili Assar. Again, Crystal Palace disappointed. I did honestly think about Murphy over Ismaili Assar, but it's Southampton, and that was the only one that I was umming and ahhing. At the end of the day, it cost me 3 points. It is what it is. Mo Salah as captain was highly disappointing. Was barely seen against Everton. 6 points there. Saka obviously came off the bench with that massive 8 points. I was pretty happy about that. And Palmer with 6 with that assist. It was annoying. I would have been inside the top 1,000 if Cole Palmer hadn't been booked. So, yeah, he could have been on 7. It is what it is. Yeah. And then up front, it was Mateta, sub before 60 minutes, 59 minutes for 1 point. Highly frustrating. I mean, 1 point's 1 point, but it is the difference of my rank between being just outside the top 1,000 teams and being inside the top 1,000 teams. Should have gone with the captain Marmouche, like a lot of people. He got 9 points. Anyone that captained him, well done. You got 18. And then obviously Isaac got 8 points. So, again, pretty decent. It was a fairly meh week in general. I still scored above the average points, but in reality, when you play wildcard, you're luck for a green. But I suppose when you're this high up, getting green arrows in general is pretty damn hard work. So, on to my updated chip stage, you can see there, I'm just really quickly, I played my second wildcard in Game Week 30. Game Week 31, I will be rolling. In Game Week 32, in the double game week, I will be playing my best bench boost chip. The rest is still up in the air, but I'm almost 100% not going to be free hitting now in blank Game Week 34. So that is something to keep in mind. And from that, I'm actually quite happy with the way things are going. And to still be at the rank I'm at the moment, I'm set up for a really good finish to the season with still 3 chips left to play. So the Game Week 31 FDR, it's now been updated because we can see the doubles have been inserted in there for Game Week 33 and Game Week 32, and we can see all the blanks now in Game Week 34. That's what I covered at the very beginning of the video. I'm not going to talk too much about that, other than the fact that Liverpool have great fixtures, so do Newcastle, so do Nottingham Forest, so do Southampton, ironically. Spurs, just ignore them. They are a trap. Wolves, again, they have really good fixtures. It's annoying that Cunha's not available this week because I would 100% be recommending him. But he is a really good asset if you want to look a little bit further ahead. He is back for the Tottenham game, and that's at home. And Tottenham are going to be on the back. He could be a really good shout next week over like a Mateta. Just saying, if you wanted to go a week early, I love it. And then Aston Villa have that amazing fixture against Southampton and 32. And Brighton, as you can see there, have really good fixtures for the blank game week, West Ham at home, and for bench boost 32, they have Leicester at home. And again, Chelsea, Ipswich at home in 32, Everton at home in 34. There's a lot to like about those fixtures for those particular teams. So, the best Gabriel replacements, and I've given you 7 options here for each. So if you're chasing bench boost, double game week 33 players, the 7 players you should be looking at are Dean at 4.5 million, Saliba at 6.3 million, Timber at 5.6 million, Munoz at 5.1 million, Lacroix at 4.5 million, Konza at 4.4 million, and Guardiol at 6.1 million. In terms of, if you're not free hitting in 34 and you're bench boosting in 32 or 33, now if you're bench boosting in 33, Wan-Bissaka's your man. At 4.5 million, he's great. Some of the other fixtures aren't as good. Virgil van Dijk also has an amazing fixture for blank game week 33 as well. He's got Leicester at 6.5 million, though. It is quite expensive. And if you've got the exact money, you've missed the price rise, which means if I just wanted to move Gabriel to Van Dijk, I couldn't do it anymore. Milinkovic at 5 mil is definitely my favourite pick, and I've still got him in my team for a reason because I am intending on using that Forest defence. Now that they've got a fixture in 34 as well, that is amazing. Kukurea is also a really good shout if you're bench boosting 32. As I said, Ipswich and then free hit 34 in that week when people are doing that. He's got Everton at home as well. He's a really nice differential and someone that I'm actively eyeing up. 8 Nori as well, 4.8 million. Not the best fixture in 32 with Tottenham at home, but Tottenham might have their minds elsewhere, so maybe it is a good fixture. And then in 34, it's Leicester. So again, another really good option. Estupiñán, if he can stay fit, and that's the big conundrum on him, because otherwise I think I'd be actually going to him. 4.9 million, I love him. Brighton's fixtures is just amazing in 32. Leicester at home, 34 as well. West Ham at home. They're nice fixtures. Maybe he's someone that you could go to. I'm just concerned about his fitness and whether he's going to be starting every week. Nico Williams, again, if you wanted to double up on the Forest defence, I love that as well. And potentially that might actually be the best option. So, benching ratings for Game Week 31. Defenders, Newcastle defence against Leicester. They've got to be at the top of the list. Munoz, Guardiol in that order. Arsenal defence, I'm not convinced they're going to keep a clean sheet against Everton, to be honest with you. Milinkovic, Liverpool defence, Forest defence, Kukurea, Dean, Konza, Robinson, Castagna and Mikalenko. Midfielders, it's Gordon, Jacob Murphy. City mids, Bowen, Semenyo, Mbeumo, Palmer, Saka, Alanga, Villa mids, Matoma, Fernandez, Marino. And then the forwards, it's definitely Isaac, Marmoush, Mateta. Has to be that this week again. Wissar, Jackson, Wood, Jorgen Strand-Larsen, Watkins, João Pedro, Welbeck, Raul, Delap and Gapco if you have any of them. Now, the Game Week 31 captaincy decision. And look, Cole Palmer's back. He's got an assist. And Brentford haven't been playing that well at home of late. So potentially, he is a really good shout this week. And I don't mind it at all. Mo Salah, obviously, he has to be in the reckoning. The dude is killing everyone in terms of points this season. He obviously had a blank. And he's only had back-to-back blanks once this season. So the odds of him blanking again, you would think of are highly remote, but he didn't look good. And Fulham's defence arguably is better than Everton's defence at the moment. So there's also that to consider, but maybe Fulham is still reeling from that FA Cup loss. I'm not sure. Cole Palmer has to be back in the frame. Brentford away, as I said, Brentford's home form hasn't been the best of late. Cole Palmer's now got an assist. Hopefully that win gives him confidence. Jackson's back in the team. Others are back in the team. Cole Palmer hopefully will be back. And he's also been rested for about 3 weeks. So again, he could be definitely a shout. But the two standout options I think this week are Isaac with that away fixture against Leicester. And he is yellow flagged, but it is on Tuesday. So there's plenty of time for him to recover. And last time he was flagged, he ended up getting 13 points. So there's no reason to panic. I think just make sure you got a good vice captain picked. If Isaac's fit, he'll be playing, he'll be starting, and I guarantee he'll be scoring goals. Marmouche against Manchester United. I mean, Man United are just not very good. So I also think that he's a really good shout this week as well. So again, there's plenty of options this week, and there needs to be a proper discussion to be had about it because Mo Salah is no longer the perma captain. So, on to my team selection for Game Week 31, and this is how we're looking. So, Raya is going to be starting in goal over Verbruggen. Verbruggen, I'm just not sure. I mean, like, maybe Crystal Palace suck again, but I just can't see it myself. I think they'll want to bounce back after that Southampton performance. It was a little bit off-putting. Dan Burn obviously comes into the 11. At the moment, Gabriel is just a last man on the bench because I don't need him this week. And then I can look and hold over the weekend and assess the options and work out who's best for my bench boost in 32. And hopefully there's no more injuries. And so I'll bring that transfer this week and probably move him on after I've seen how everyone goes this week and everything else that happens in the Champions League and the Europa League next week. Guardiola is going to be starting over Milinkovic, and that was the big decision I had. Milinkovic or Guardiola. I just can't see Man United scoring, so I suppose that's why I've gone for that. And Aston Villa have been scoring goals, so that means Milinkovic would have to get a goal to probably return. So I'm backing in against Milinkovic again this week, so hopefully it doesn't burn me yet again. And then Munoz at home, Brighton and Hove Albion hopefully showing up. Hopefully that means they get back to some winning ways. It'd be nice if they kept a clean sheet. It'd be nice if Munoz did something upon being brought into the team. In terms of the midfield, it's Jacob Murphy away at Leicester. He has to be starting. He's actually swapping places with Ismaila Sarr because I just think that it makes a lot more sense. Salah is the vice captain. He's got Fulham away. Saka is obviously there against Everton away. Don't mind that fixture. I don't know how many minutes he's going to get. Potentially, I could swap Sarr and Saka, but it just feels wrong doing that when I paid up so much money for Saka. Palmer obviously goes away at Brentford. I'm not concerned about that fixture either. I think, again, he'll do really well. And then in the forward line, it is Mateta at home against Brighton. Potentially, I could swap Mateta and Sarr, but Mateta's on penalties, so it also, again, doesn't feel right. Marmouche obviously has the Man United away fixture. Again, not too bad. There's a lot of away fixtures this week, so I'm hoping that the teams just show up away from their home ground. And then obviously Isaac is the captain at the moment. Leicester away fixture. I mean, surely Newcastle don't do what Palace did against Southampton. I would actually argue at the moment Leicester are easier to play than Southampton, so hopefully this week it's going to equal bulk points for my team, and hopefully, with some luck, a little bit of a green arrow. So, on to the deadline decisions for Game Week 31, and front and foremost has to be Game Week 31 to 34 navigation. So using your free transfers or your wild card to target the immediate double fixtures for Palace and Newcastle, and it's absolutely key. As well as covering Man City, Aston Villa, if you want to cover Aston Villa, I'm not. Arsenal assets that are now confirmed doubles and blanks over Game Week 33 and 34. Like, my team is well set up to navigate blank Game Week 34 with 4 transfers that I'll have from Game Week 30 saved up through to Game Week 34. So I'm fine with that. I'm going to play 11 players. Hopefully they will play and I'll be sweet. Assets to target. This all comes down to choice and the reading of the fixtures. I'm not overly sold on Aston Villa as a team, as I've just said, to target. Similar to Man City, the roulette gambles, man. Like, you just can't take on the roulette gambles. They always do you. Foden owners must be so annoyed and so blessed at the same time because they probably had good points coming off the bench. Also, are Crystal Palace potentially being overrated? Like, I'm just going to put it out there. Are their assets being overrated? The run of fixtures they've got is not easy. Something definitely needed to take into consideration. In terms of blanking players in Game Week 34, are you committed to free hitting, then knowing that there could be more potential doubles and blanks over the rest of the season? There is a small chance of a double Game Week 36 and a blank Game Week 37 for some teams. So in that event, if you're so focused on the free hit 34, then it's not actually that hard to juggle. And there's not going to be much time between 34 and 37 to then make transfers to target those other ones, which is why I don't want to use my free hit then. I've still got my free hit down for 38. But if it turns out there's amazing fixtures or whatever and there's an extra double or whatever, then potentially I'll use it then. And then captaincy decisions, as I said, do you stick with the Salah or do you go for an Isaac or a Marmoush or a Cole Palmer? Yeah, let me know in the comments who you're going for. I'm really intrigued to know what everyone else is thinking this week. So that brings us to the end of my team selection video, and I've rattled through so much in just over 25 minutes. So I've actually done pretty damn good. I'm now going to pack up the camera. I'm going to pack up the microphone. I'm going to pack up the laptop. I'm going to drive 6 hours from Kalgoorlie to Perth. And then tomorrow I'm doing the deadline stream. And then literally about an hour after I finish the deadline stream, I will be going to the airport and I'll be catching a flight from Perth to Munich and then a train from Munich to Austria, and I'll be at snowbombing. So again, if you are at snowbombing next week, leave us a comment, hit me up on X, FPLD_unit, and hopefully we can catch up and make some videos together and enjoy some FPL content on the slopes of Austria. I'll see you tomorrow for a deadline stream. That's been FPLD, and if you've made it to the end, please smash us a like and please give us a sub as well. That'd be awesome. Cheers.